All right, we are recording. So thank you again, everybody, for being here, parents, staff, students. The purpose of our meeting today is to discuss the middle grades hybrid learning plan, because at this point, everybody in grades 7 to 8, even though we are the last to return to Gompers, families do have a choice to come back for in-person learning to end out the school year. So we just want to give you all an overview of what that would look like, so you can make the decision that's best for your family. Maybe virtual is still the better option. Maybe hybrid is the better option. We don't know. So we're here to present y'all with the information so that you can think about it and take the steps that are necessary to do what you need to do. And I will say as well, if you decide, and I'm already going to have Mr. DeLuca or Ms. Atwell correct me if I'm wrong, but if you decide to stay virtual, there's nothing that needs to be done, correct? Okay, perfect. I see heads nodding. So if you decide to stay virtual, there's not actually anything that you need to do. You would just continue going along. Our routine will stay the same. But if you are a student or family that is specifically interested in hybrid learning, or you need to learn more about it before you make your decision, that is really what our meeting is all about. So if we can just hold questions until the end, unless there's something pressing, and then we'll open it up for questions at that point. So some general information, and if everybody could just stay on mute until we get to the question part, that would be great. All right, so just some general information. So the school district announced phase 3 for students who will be returning in grades 6 to 9. More specifically, our 7th and 8th grade students are the last to have the chance to return to Gompers. So we're excited. All of the teachers are in the building getting ready for a potential return. And we hope to see as many students as are comfortable in coming in. Model selection. It opens, I believe tomorrow is the first day, and it closes a week from tomorrow. So tomorrow is the first day that you can apply for hybrid learning, and it closes a week from today. And the school district is, and again, Mr. DeLuca, Ms. Atwell, anyone else, if I speak any misinformation, just unmute and correct me. But they are sticking pretty strictly to that deadline. So it's really important that if you are interested in coming back, that you follow this deadline. I'm not sure what the exact time is on Tuesday. Is it by 4 or 5 o'clock, I think? But the sooner you do it, the better. The best thing I can say to you is don't wait. Don't wait until next Tuesday. Go ahead, Ms. Atwell.
I was going to say generally it's 5 o'clock as the deadline time-wise.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Atwell. But again, we all know how technology is. So if you can get it done before then, and again, I'll speak with, I'll have Ms. Atwell and Mr. DeLuca speak on the process in a moment of how you go about this. But before we do that, options. So the hybrid model is 2 days in person, 3 days virtual. Okay? 2 days in person, 3 days virtual. If your student were to remain online, they will continue with the same schedule that they've been on since the beginning of the school year. The schedule does not change. If you do not opt into the hybrid model, you would remain 5 days virtual through the end of the school year. Okay? And in particular, I know our 8th grade students and families are excited about this. We did get information that we can hold an 8th grade closing ceremony in person. The guest limit, there is going to be a guest limit in effect, but we are able to hold an in-person closing ceremony. So we are working on that right now, and I know in particular our students and families are really happy about that. So I just wanted to relay that as well. This is the part that I'm not sure about, Mr. DeLuca and Ms. Atwell. If either of you could speak about this, how do parents sign up to return to hybrid learning, or to sign up for hybrid learning?
So parents should have received an email that came to their personal email as long as they have an email that's considered their name with our student information system. But I've said in my announcements, and I put it in Dojo, that to make it easier, they can always email me or Miss Atwell, preferably Miss Atwell, at fatwell@philasd.org. And all they have to do is give the child's name, their name, verify who they are, and that they want their child to attend in-person learning for 2 days a week, and we could do it that way. But there is a direct link to a form that they fill out that was sent to their email. But we do know that there's been some challenges with that, and not every parent's checking their email. So this is a really good way to communicate to everybody that all you have to do is reach out to me or Miss Atwell, preferably Miss Atwell. We will honor, like, a phone call or email to Mr. Hudak, but then there's another set that we got to go through. So, but the deadline is the deadline. We have to start planning. I have schedules that have to be done. We have lunches that need to be supported. So we can't have people decide, in the middle of May that they want to come in. So have a conversation with your families. You should be able to make that decision. And when you come to the decision, then let us know. We only have 1 week to do this. So if you have any questions, that's what today's about. If you're not sure what to do, again, have that conversation with your family. And no action means that you'll be fully remote.
Thank you. Miss Atwell, do you have anything to add to that?
No, well, just preferably for the email, for myself, because then I'll have it in writing. As far as the selection of which day they want, we will not be taking a request because it's pretty much based on scheduling. So I think that was it.
Just also, if there are siblings, just note that the system is set up so that the siblings have the same day.
Right.
So there are multiple children. Please indicate, that's a concern, and we will accommodate. But we won't be able to give everybody Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, as Ms. Atwell said.
Okay, perfect. So again, I'm just going to repeat back what I heard. So Mr. Hudak's a parent. I'm supposed to get an email, but I didn't receive one. If I did not receive an email about returning back and I am interested in hybrid learning, I should email Miss Atwell, or you can always text your homeroom teacher, me, Miss Foster, Miss Frazier, Miss V, to get Miss Atwell's email, but we'd like it to be via email. That will be easiest for everybody. All right. So just very quickly to talk about safety protocols. I know this is at the forefront of everybody's mind. We want to keep everybody safe. That's the most important thing because there still is a pandemic going on. So masks are required. It's not optional. Masks are required. We are going to be socially distancing 6 feet in all spaces. That's in the classroom during instruction. That's in the main school building, in the lunchroom, in the recess yard, in all areas. We will need to maintain the social distancing guidelines. We have hand sanitizing stations, frequent hand washing. There's COVID testing for students and staff once a week. So all the teachers we did our daily COVID test for the week today. And then Wednesday is a deep cleaning day and 100% virtual for all students. So every single student on Wednesdays will be virtual. Go ahead, Mr. DeLuca.
Yeah, a couple things just to talk to this slide. Students are going to just be tested one time, so they won't be. But teachers will be tested weekly on Mondays, just so that's clear. And then, really, I don't think that the 7th and 8th graders will be coming into the main building really for any reason. Possibly to the cafeteria, but we are going to try to do lunches in the classroom, and we're actually just having talks about possibly eating outside. Actually, I think Ms. Foster got 3 tables that we could use for outside. I was just in there. We have 3 picnic tables that we could socially distance, so probably safely have six students eat outside. So again, a lot has to do with how many students, why it's important that we get the information by the 20, what was it? I don't want to say the wrong date, the 27th? The 27th. Once we get that information, we'll be able to roll out how we're going to do the lunches. So that's all I wanted to say to that.
Mr. DeLuca, I placed in the chat also about the testing for the students. Even though they're tested once, parents have to agree, sign a paper to agree to be for your child to be tested before they can come in for hybrid.
Yes, that's a great point, Ms. Smith. Thank you. There has to be a consent form. We will not technically really allow students into the building without the consent form. So make sure your parents all know, and if parents are on there, your child will be tested. It's a swab that goes into the nose, and the results are that day. It's painless.
All right, perfect. So this is the really important one, the schedule. So there will be two groups of students. There's a group A and a group B. Group A students will be in person on Monday and Tuesday. There is, again, a virtual half day on Wednesday. All students are virtual on Wednesdays. And then they will be virtual full days on Thursday and Friday. So again, students will be virtual 3 days, in person for 2 days. Group B will be virtual for the full day on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is a virtual half day, and then they will be in person on Thursday and Friday. So again, Wednesday is that deep cleaning day where nobody's in the building. If your student remains fully virtual, it is the same schedule. There is no difference. But I do just want to point out with this part, if you opt in for hybrid, the expectation is that you're showing up for your in-person days, right? It's not like I woke up a little bit late today. I don't feel like going into school this day, so I'm just going to log into my computer. If you're opting in for hybrid learning, we expect you to show up in person just like your teachers are every day. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or there's going to be multiple days where you're not coming, I don't know what the exact policy is, but you know, we don't want to get to that point. So if you are signing up for hybrid, you're going to be in person. We are expecting you to be here. All right. And what it works out to, here's the calendar for A Day. Here's the calendar for A Day. So in total, starting on the return date to the end of the school year, it's about 9 days of in-person learning that students would be at Gompers for. It's about 9 days total. Okay, so here's the A Day calendar. And again, here's the B Day calendar. So in total, it's about 9 days of in-person learning. Just wanted to give you guys that visual as well. Moving on, again, this was already mentioned by both Ms. Atwell and Mr. DeLuca. If you have a student in grades K to 6, please let Mr. DeLuca and Ms. Atwell know so that we can line up their schedules and make sure that all of your students are in person on the same days to make everybody's schedule easier. Okay, so please let us know if that's the case. If you already have a K to 2 student or a K to, I guess it's what, K to 5 now that is back. Yeah. So if you have a K to 5 student that's back already, let us know. Expectations. This stuff hasn't changed really. It's kind of the same expectation we've had all year, but I'm gonna be honest, Mr. Hudok's starting to get tired, yo. I'm starting to get tired. I'm sending a lot of text messages out. Please make sure so-and-so logs into class. We are 4 marking quarters in. You know the schedule. We shouldn't have to do that at this point. But please, again, consider your options carefully and make the decision that's best for your student and your family, okay? You know your student best. You know what's going to be best for your family. If you don't feel comfortable sending your student back, then by all means, stay virtual through the end of the year. If you want to come back into in-person learning, we are more than happy to have you, and we are excited to have you back here, especially to our 8th graders to kind of end your Gompers career. We're looking forward to that. But regardless of your decision, students attend school every day on time in all classes. You're actively participating and you're completing assignments. Same expectations as all year. Ms. Smith just asked a great question. If a student comes in person, are they to bring their Chromebooks to school? The answer is yes. Yes. So if your student is coming back for in person, they are responsible to bring their Chromebooks with them, and it should be charged overnight so that when they get to school, it's on a full charge and they're ready to go for the school day. Okay. And then I think this is my last slide. Mr. Jones, I was going to have you talk about this, and then I was going to briefly just share kind of my perspective, but I'll just share the slide. The school district is moving forward with PSSA testing for hybrid students. We're asking that you do what's best for your student and family. Again, there are two options. Dr. Height himself has said this, so this is not something that we're just saying at Gompers. You have an option to take the assessment, or you have the option to opt out of the assessment. So, Mr. Jones, if you want to speak on that.
Mr. Hudak, you pretty much have it pretty clear. Parents and students, you guys will have an opportunity to take the assessment. Upon arriving back and as a hybrid student, you will be asked to take the assessment. Any student that returns is expected to take the assessment. However, any parent can opt out any student just by letting Mr. Hudak know in text or in writing, or any of the teachers know that they'd rather have their students opt out for the assessment. If you do not opt out for the assessment, but you stay hybrid, you will be asked to take the assessment in the fall upon return to school. But your opt-out, if you opt out now, when testing comes around, your opting out will last for the entire testing period. If you stay hybrid, when you come back in the fall, again, you will be asked to take the PSSA assessment.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And if y'all want, I'm just going to say this because if y'all want my honest opinion, just text me and I'll text you back and give you my honest opinion about it. We don't need to say anything on here, but again, if you want my honest opinion about the situation, you want my honest feedback, text me and I have no problem giving you that. But again, there are two options. Honestly, for our 8th graders, it's important to see where you are. For our 7th graders, if you do take it and you do well, the high schools will use it. It will be beneficial. But again, if you want my honest feedback, please feel free to send me a text message and I am more than happy to provide that. So at this point, I want to open it up to parents for questions, but we'll just say to everybody, regardless of the options you choose, we have a really dedicated middle grades team, administration team, leadership team at Gompers. So regardless of what you choose, we're going to continue to push and teach your students. So if it's not like if you decide not to come back, your student decides to stay at home for the rest of this, we're still going to be teaching. I told students this the other day. We tell them the same thing every year. This is not, I don't know what other teachers at other schools or other grades or whatever have done, but this team teaches until the last day of school. We teach the whole time because students need it. We're not doing our job if we're not preparing students. So it's not Netflix and hot Cheetos and whatever, for the last month of school. We don't do that. So regardless of what you choose, whether you're in person, whether you stay virtual, we're going to be teaching until the last day. And we will do everything we can to support your student and your family. But I'll just speak for me. I hope to see people back because I miss all of you. And I miss you guys being here. So
Hudak, you had a few questions in the chat. Uniform question and 8th graders testing.
So what about 8th graders? Is that a testing question? What do you mean about Zari? I'm not sure what you mean.
Because Mr. Jones basically was saying that they would take it in the fall, the PSSA. That's what Zari is putting in there.
Yeah, okay. I believe. And again, Zari, if your mom wants some feedback, just have her text me. But again, in terms of 8th grade, I believe even if you went to your high school in 9th grade, if you did not opt out, you would still take it in 9th grade. I believe that is how it would work. So if you do not want to, if you would want to opt out or not take the assessment, you would need to do that before returning. And Mr. Jones, just correct me if I'm wrong again. There's no formal letter or anything that needs to be written. If a parent texts me and they say they opt out and I'd screenshot the text, that's good, correct?
That's absolutely correct. There's no formal letter anymore. They can tell you or they can write it, but they can text you as well or let any teacher on the team know that they're opting out and they're allowed to opt out. Okay,
perfect. Thank you. Mr. DeLuca, I'm going to turn the unit. We have a question about uniform. Do we wear a uniform? I'm not touching that one. So that's kind of your decision.
Yeah, so uniforms are going to be optional at this point for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want to add an additional cost to the coming back, and we're making that become like, a part of the decision making for parents. I mean, let's face it, we haven't bought a uniform in over a year probably, so students are probably not the same sizes, and we're not going to start to add additional stress to families by asking for a red top, black bottoms. If you want to wear it, that's fine. We would love to see you wear it, but it's not going to be mandatory. Therefore, the dress code becomes dress appropriately. And so we want to make sure that if there's any shorts, because the weather's going to get warm, that they're, knee high, appropriate, tops. And I would say if anybody has a question about what's appropriate, you can email or contact anybody at any time.
Mr. DeLuca, to make it simple, if you have to ask, is this appropriate? It's probably not appropriate.
There you go. Good answer. But we do want you to dress appropriately.
Add that if you're choosing to come back, please be mindful and just be aware that if you're coming back, it's only for 9 days. It winds up being 9 days of school that you're actually coming back for in the hybrid model.
Mr. Hudak, Avion Northington, she had her hand up. I don't know if you saw it. I know it's hard to see everyone. And there was another question on the chat about, are the siblings guaranteed on going on the same day?
As long as you let us know, we will make sure we line up the sibling schedule with the 7th and 8th graders. Yes.
And her Northington's question, do the children have to get tested with a swab in both nostrils when they're in school in the fall? I think.
I'm assuming so.
I don't want to say anything about the fall at this point, so I think we'll just leave that open for the fall, and we're just going to concentrate on this time. But yeah, it's both nostrils, 5 swabs on the left, 5 swabs on the right.
And it's not like, I don't know, for the people that haven't been tested, it's not even like some people said, oh, it goes all the way up your nose and pokes you in the brain. Like it's not even that deep. It's just you put it at the very edge of your nose and swirl it around. So, yeah. So I want to be very clear because I see Miss Lakea Wilkerson in the chat. 9 days? Question mark? Let me be very clear. There is over 30 days of school left. It would be 9 days in person. So let's just be very clear to everybody. No, there are not 9 total days of school left. I think there's just under 40 days at this point. But remember, you are virtual when you are not in school. You are still virtual. Any other questions for us at this time? Any other questions before we wrap up our meeting? This might be the quickest meeting I've ever done, y'all.
There was a question of what if students attend on the wrong day? So they're scheduled for a Monday and Tuesday, but they attend on a Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, so if someone comes in on the wrong day, we're going to call the family and say, hey, they came on the wrong day. Can you come get them? We don't like sending students home, although 7th and 8th graders are more than capable of walking home. That's not the school district's policy to send them home like that because anything could happen. So we would contact the parent. If worst came to worst, they would stay that day. If that happens several times, you could be asked to just stay remote, stay remote full time. But we're hoping that the older students are pretty responsible. The students are at this age should know what day they're in. If they were little kids, kindergarten or first grade, obviously it's a parent issue. But hopefully that won't happen. But if they do, they would be asked to go home, but only if a parent could provide a safe travel back home. And then there is a penalty. But by the time they get 3 and they're out, it's only 9 total. But we're hoping that that doesn't happen. But that was a good question.
Yeah, so just to wrap up the meeting, I don't see any more questions. If there are, please feel free to pop them into the chat. Go ahead, Zaria, quickly.
For Ms. Atwell, what about student SEPTA passes?
Okay, so I don't know exactly how they're doing that, but there was some information that was circulated about that. So I'm sure they're working on providing as well. I just don't know complete details. I would need updated addresses. I need all addresses to be accurate. So if there's been any movement or anything, I need you to send that to me, please. Or
Yeah,
have your mom send me like proof of the address along with the ID.
right. There's also going to be some, I guess, food money that would be sent out, similar to like when the pandemic first hit. So those addresses have to be accurate for that. I want to talk a little bit about on their way to coming to school. So we want you to get here as close to 8:30 as possible. We're not going to have an 8 o'clock recess or 8 o'clock hangout in the back of the hallways on the second floor like we used to. We're starting regular time, 8:30. So we don't want any kind of congregating. You'll come to class as close to 8:30 as possible, and you're going to enter the classroom that you're in. You're not going to be able to mix rooms. Like, you're not going to be able to see kids in other classrooms. You're not going to be able to visit those other classrooms. You're basically staying in your homeroom the entire day. We're going to try to get lunch delivered to the rooms if possible. If not, students will be either eating in the cafeteria or outside, separated. And for dismissal, obviously, you're all old enough to walk home, but we can't have a situation where 3 or 4 people are waiting for a ride. So make sure that you work out with your families how you're going to leave the school. And so that's done in a quick and orderly fashion. I'll be very honest with you. Many of us have families that we have to get home to because everybody's remote. And so like there's still childcare issues going on within the staff, and that's normal. So just to be courteous. So for example, I would like to get home. So I'm not going to want to be after school till 3:45 with students who are waiting for a ride. So if that happens, the rule is 3 times. Once that happens 3 times, you're back to fully remote. So after 3:19, there should be no students here at all, within reason.
I think I see one more hand, and then we're going to wrap up. Go ahead, Layla.
I wanted to know, do we have to register for like the days that we want to come in?
So let me say this. I'll say this again, just to give everybody a recap. Okay, the window to register for hybrid learning begins tomorrow. Your parents should get an email, and you have a week to opt into hybrid learning. If you do not get an email, you need to reach out to one of the 4 homeroom teachers, me, Ms. Foster, Ms. V, or Ms. Frazier, so that we can give you Ms. Atwell's email. Okay, Ms. Atwell needs to get an email saying that you're opting in for virtual. You do not get to select the days you want. There is no day selection. Okay, we will make sure that if you have a younger sibling in K-5, that you are in the school in person at the same time. But there is no, I want to come this day and that day. We have to do the scheduling, so we will tell you what days you're coming in. Okay? Again, it is 3 days virtual. It is 2 days in person. Okay? So one group will come in on Monday and Tuesday and be virtual the rest of the week. One group will come in on Thursday and Friday and be virtual at the beginning of the week. Right? That's kind of pretty much so the general information. Again, if you have questions, the best thing to do is just text me, or one of the other teachers on the call. You know how to reach us. Just a reminder to the 8th grade parents, class dues are due on Friday. Your $75 payment for class dues are due on Friday so that we can start to get moving on this end of the year stuff for the 8th grade class of 2021. So please remember about that. Just while we have everybody here as well, parents, please make sure your student finishes their ANET assessments. They are very important. They have an ANET that they should have finished in reading, and they took math today. Please make sure they finish. I think I see one more hand, and then we are going to have to move on. I'm not sure who it is, but G.
It's Layla's mom. Hi.
Hello.
I don't know if we covered this. I jumped on late, but are we covering the vaccination status of the teachers and staff when they come back, when our students come back into school, as they cannot be vaccinated because of their age? How are we protecting our students in the classroom? Are the teachers and staff going to be vaccinated, and can that information be given to us?
Yeah, so the vaccination status of staff is not something that is shared within staff or with the community at large, or even like, you know, the families. So that information is not going to be shared. Vaccinations are not mandatory, so that information cannot be shared. But the staff will be tested every Monday, and we do have strict protocols. If we have an entry form, so before we come into the building on any given day, we have to indicate if we were anywhere near anyone that was positive, or if we're feeling sick, we're not to come in. And we've taken a lot of protocols to have staff avoid being in the building if there's any risk of COVID-19 being, possibly spread. And if we do get a positive case, whether it be student or staff, we inform the people who were, in close proximity to that person as per the CDC guidelines. And then we take the necessary steps if we do have to quarantine a class or quarantine a part of the building, which is another reason why I want to emphasize that, the students that are coming back in 7th and 8th grade are not in that main building. So if something were to go down in the main building with a COVID positive case, it will not affect what's going on outside in R1, 2, 3, or 4. Now, if something does happen in one of those classrooms, then of course those students and families would be notified, to quarantine and to test, etc. But we're not giving information about vaccinations.
That wing has their own bathrooms and everything?
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah. So I can speak on that a little bit too. So at most, our biggest class size is right around 20 in all 4 classes. So if every single student were to return to Gompers, which we know probably everyone isn't going to come back, the most kids that would be at a room at one time would be 10 students, around 10. And our classrooms are pretty big, right? So we would be able to distance students safely. We have hand sanitizing stations set up already. The bathrooms are here. They're separate from the main building. So, I mean, it's a pretty nice situation for the middle grades to be in the buildings we're in.
I heard some discussion about how to get to and from school. Are they being allowed to walk home? Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be recommended that they actually do that because, as I said earlier, if I'm waiting for someone, they get letters, and if 3 latenesses of a pickup is going to be fully remote at some point. So it is recommended that they walk home. If they're not able to, if they're waiting for an adult to pick them up, understand that we're responsible for their safety. So that means that our staff would have to stay, and no one's staying here except me. And in order to support administrators, the school district made a policy of 3 latenesses would equal fully remote. And we're going to do the math. There's 8 or 9 days. If you're late 3 of them, it might just be best to stay home. But we want to make sure that families and students get the options, to be here if that's what they want to do. But when they do come, they have to be respectful. They have to wear their masks. They have to be able to arrive on time. They have to leave on time, and they have to follow all of the social distancing rules. If we find people trying to mix classes and go into the building and do stuff, there'll be a conversation about going fully remote. But we're not anticipating that, but I got to be prepared for like some worst case stuff. So And I work with parents. I had a couple parents that were like 2 minutes, 3 minutes late. I let it go. But 15, 20, I have written out a letter to a family for twice. And if they have one more, they're going to be fully remote.
Thank you.
All right, so at this point, our floor is going to be so upset, and all the other classes, they're missing instructional time with their teachers. We have a lot to cover on this wonderful Monday. So I hope everybody has a great day. If you have any questions, again, you have Mr. DeLuca and Miss Atwell's email, pdeluca@philasd.org and fatwell@philasd.org. If you need anything in the short term, please text the homeroom teacher, or you can text me. You all have my number, and we will get you that information as quickly as we can. But again, we hope to see the school bus is going to be working. I have Zainab. I have no idea. Mr.
Yeah, I can respond to the buses. So if students are bus students, meaning that they've already had bus transportation, they will be picked up very, very early. I would say somewhere around 6:30 a.m. for a 7:15 arrival. And once again, a lot of it has to do with, this is why there's a turnaround. We need to know who's coming into the building. If there are students coming into the building, they will be arriving at 7:15. There is staff here to receive them. However, again,
I am receiving at 7:15.
Right. I understand, but if that's the only way that they can get here, and they're deciding to come virtual, there's a lot of ifs here, right? Because if I decide to come live and come in person, but you can also say I'm not interested in getting on that bus, so you can get yourself here on your own. If the bus is the only way that you're getting here, understand that it'll be a 7:15 to 2:15 schedule, and we'll make adjustments for asynchronous work to be given or for coverage. There's a lot of things that I'll have to put in place, but I won't know until the pieces of the puzzle are all there. But to answer the question, if you have bus transportation, you will be able to get bus transportation. The arrival time is 7:15 and the pickup at the school is 2:15. So your families would have to make the adjustments of getting you on the bus that early and being ready to receive you home that early, unless they can make other arrangements for you to be here. And like I said, once I find out how many of those students we have, I can then start to plan for some type of instruction for them and some type of supervision and setup. It will not include every teacher being here at 7:15, but it may include some. And we do have teachers that are here at 7:15. So again, I'll make the necessary adjustments, but we won't know until everyone goes on that link or emails us and lets us know that they're coming. And if you are coming, we'll provide you what you need. Breakfast will be served every morning for every student. Lunch will be given every afternoon for every student, and there'll also be a grab-and-go bag. It's a box of food that will go home with the children on the A students on Tuesday and the B students on Fridays, so that they'll have food for the week. So there is an incentive of food as well that will be given out.
I'm not really sure as far as the busing, if it's just going to be for all students, though. There is a qualification, to my understanding, that some students who previously was on the bus would not qualify for that busing for this session of schooling.
Thank you. So I don't mean to cut anyone else off, but we are getting repeat questions from students. So I'm going to post the video from YouTube so the students and parents that missed anything can just watch it back, so we do not have to repeat ourselves. But thank you everybody for being here. We appreciate you. Reach out with questions. We hope to see everybody back. And if not, we will see you on the computer 5 days a week. Have a great day, everybody. Students, go to your last block of the day, please. Thank you.